In ministry, communication is such an important part of how you lead and how you influence others. And in Pillars, communication becomes an important topic, especially when it comes to an area of leadership that is challenging. And that area is conflict resolution. When you are leading people, when you are leading ministries, there will be times when you're going to have to sit people down, come to terms with things, help people to understand, resolve interpersonal conflict. And communication becomes so important for that because oftentimes it is bad communication that actually makes the conflict even worse. The book of Proverbs has so much to teach us about how we use words, how we communicate to resolve conflict in ministry. Let me read a verse to you, Proverbs 18:21. It says this, "The tongue has the power of life and death." All of us have experienced the power of the tongue. As people have spoken to us, communicated us, we have experienced life at times, we have experienced death at times. We understand what Proverbs is saying right here. And as you study the book of Proverbs, you discover that it really gives us a pattern for how we can use communication to help people, help them resolve their conflict, help them gain an understanding in 3 very simple steps. The first step, surprisingly, for communication is this: you must listen. Before you speak, you must listen. Then you must speak the truth, but there's a way in which you do that. And then you must give life-giving statements to them. Listen, speak the truth, give life-giving statements. These 3 steps is what Proverbs teaches us. So let's look at each step. First, you must listen. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 28 says this, "Even a fool is thought wise if he keeps silent and discerning, if he holds his tongue." Proverbs is basically saying, listen, seek to understand before you seek to be understood. Oftentimes we are always wanting to speak first so people can understand where we're at. And Proverbs is saying, no, listen, hold on. Listen first. Gain a discernment. When you listen, you gain an understanding of where the person is at, not just emotionally, but also in their words and their body language. And Proverbs says, start there as a leader. Start by listening. Have you ever been in a conversation where you say something and before your sentence is done, the person you're talking to interrupts you and they say something and before their sentence is done, you interrupt them? Nobody's listening. Nobody actually understands the other person. Jesus, oftentimes in communicated, would begin with a question so he could first listen. Proverbs 18:13 puts it this way, "To answer before listening, that is folly and shame." To answer before listening. So we begin by listening, and we don't just listen so we know how to effectively reply. We listen so we know how to connect to their heart. When you are leading somebody and there is difficulty, there is conflict, misunderstanding, the connection you make to their heart, the trust you build even in that moment of conversation, will position you to have such a greater influence. So listen, but don't just listen as to how you can win an argument. Listen so you truly understand the person. Position yourself so that you really know. Even use these 3 words when talking to somebody, where you can say, help me understand. And by saying, help me understand, whatever it is, they feel like you really want to know what's going on in their heart and soul. There's a story in the New Testament of a father and the disciples could not cast out the spirit of this father's son who was very ill. And Jesus says, tell me about your boy. How long has he been like this? Jesus knew about the boy. He knew the details. He was making a connection to the heart of the Father. And Proverbs says, listen, as a leader, this is where you start. You don't start by talking or preaching or giving diktats. You start by listening. And by listening so you can connect to their heart and they know they are cared for and trust is built. When that happens, now you are able to move into the second step, which is to speak the truth. Proverbs 12:22 says this, "The Lord detests lying lips, but he delights in people who are trustworthy." Proverbs makes this connection between lying and trustworthiness. He says, listen, when you speak the truth, you immediately become trustworthy. Even if people don't always want to hear the truth, you become trustworthy for them. Oftentimes when there is interpersonal conflict in relationships, what we will do is we will avoid it. We'll just kind of not deal with it. We won't address it. We'll keep it to ourselves, or we will pass judgment on them. And rather than speaking the truth, it'll come out of this heart of wrong judgment, or we'll just kind of adjust the truth. Proverbs makes it very clear. If you're going to lead people, you have got to truly speak the truth. And this truth-telling idea, it actually happens in 3 different spheres. The first sphere it happens in is you got to speak the truth to yourself. You've got to be self-aware of what's going on, because we, even as leaders, are humans and we have emotions and we have hurts. And when we are sitting down to resolve a conflict through our words, we've got to speak the truth to ourselves. Here's how Proverbs 28:13 puts it. Whoever stays silent about sin and hardship in their own life will never prosper, but the one who speaks it out finds healing. You will never be able to lead others into a truth until you are self-aware of your own position and the impact that this moment has had on you. We spend so much time, we waste so much energy pretending that we're okay, pretending that it doesn't bother us. And Proverbs says, listen, as a leader, speak the truth first to yourself. Be honest with yourself and where you're at, because that honesty will put you in a position then to speak the truth to others, to a friend. Proverbs 17:17 says this, a brother is born for adversity. We're a family together, and we exist for each other. And it is in the hard times, the difficult times, the times of conflict, that we are present for each other. And as a leader especially, we have a responsibility to speak the truth. I had a man in my church who was in a marriage, and he was not leading the marriage well as a Christian husband. He was making some foolish decisions. They weren't sin, but they were unwise. At that point, I didn't have the maturity to be able to sit him down and listen as to why he was struggling as a Christian husband, and then to speak the truth to him. I just avoided it. It was just easier. It wouldn't damage our friendship. It wouldn't be awkward if I just avoided it. A year later, this husband and wife got divorced. And I remember getting on my knees before the Lord and repenting and saying, God, protect me that I never stop. I never remove myself from brothers and sisters in a way of grace and redemption to speak the truth to them. Proverbs says, first you got to listen, and then you have to speak the truth, and you have to speak the truth to yourself, but you have to speak the truth to friends, and we even speak the truth to the society around us. But how we do it's important. Proverbs 15:1 says this, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. That how we speak the truth is through words and a spirit of gentleness. Oftentimes, conflict is so emotionally charged that the words become almost violent in themselves. The Bible says that it is kindness that leads to repentance. And so we need to carry on a habit of learning not only how to listen, but when we speak, how to speak gently, that will stop us from the harsh words that become very detrimental. And Proverbs, again, gives us some insights into how we do that. Proverbs 19:11 says, a person wisdom yields patience. He basically says, when you're in this kind of a conversation and you're speaking the truth, or there's a lot of conflict, wait. Count to 10. Count to 1,000,000. But wait and have patience until when you speak, you can do it with wisdom and gently. Do not speak when you know you are emotionally charged to do that. Proverbs 15:22 says, without counsel, plans will fail, but with advisors, they succeed. Do you know what that's teaching us? Give people permission to speak into your life when they think your words are going to become too harsh. Oftentimes, this verse becomes very important for mothers and fathers in raising their children. We have different personalities as parents, and one parent with one child has a different kind of relationship. And rather than being against each other as husbands and wives, as fathers and mothers, we need to support each other. So I need to tell my wife, when you hear the tone and energy of my words getting too hard, too loud with my son, you got to interrupt and tell me so that I will then know to speak gently. And we invite other people into our communication process that protects us from no longer speaking gently. Proverbs 15:4, here's another way we speak gently. The soothing tongue is a tree of life. You speak gently by guarding your heart. You speak gently by being prepared in prayer before you go into a conversation. You speak gently and bringing life by not allowing the emotionally charged moment to be the place where a conversation takes place. Solomon is very clear in Proverbs in saying, listen, as a leader, you can resolve conflict through your words. First, listen with the intent to connect to their heart so trust is built. Then speak the truth to yourself, to them, but speak the truth gently and with grace and for the purpose of life. But then Proverbs adds a third very important step that oftentimes is left out of this process, especially when there is some kind of a conflict resolution. It says that always include life-giving words. Proverbs 10:11 says, the mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life. Are your words a fountain of life? Or are they a swamp where people drown in? And I want to share with you some phrases that I think biblically and practically are life-giving words that we as leaders should be sharing with our people. We should be telling our people, I believe in you. That's what Jesus told the disciples. You see, oftentimes people that we lead, they lose their confidence and they become hopeless. And they need a voice that says, I believe in you. I believe you have what it takes to serve God. I believe Christ in you. I believe in you. And hope is raised in them because you have shared that life-giving word. I believe in you. Another word that we should share that is life-giving is I am sorry. I am sorry. Those words especially need to be given to the closest around us. Oftentimes, as a leader, we feel in our position of authority, we can't show weakness. We make mistakes. And when we make mistakes, the quicker we are to acknowledge it and to apologize, the greater God uses that to build trust and intimacy. Your people will follow you in a greater way when you acknowledge the mistakes you made. This becomes especially important for parents with children. That when you tell your children, listen, I'm sorry about how I spoke to you the other day. They experience what it looks like to receive that forgiveness, and that is a reflection of how they will grow in their faith and their knowledge. Here's another life-giving statement I think you should make. I need you. I need you. Because when you say that, you are talking about the relationship you have and that you are a recipient of that. Oftentimes in ministry, as a leader, the people will tell us, I need you. I need your teaching. I need your worship leading. I need your leadership. And we are seen as the ones who are needed by people. But when we reverse the script and we say, I need you, we raise their value. When you do that, though, explain to them why you need them. Don't just say it generally. Be precise. Here's why I need you. Because when I'm around you, I'm always inspired. Here's why I need you. Because when I'm around you, I'm safe and I can be myself. Here's why I need you. Because I don't have the gift to do this and you do it so well, and that makes us a good team. I need you raises the value of people who oftentimes wonder whether or not they're really needed. Here's another statement that is life-giving words. I respect you. I respect you. Now, I believe this statement is so important because as Christians, we are to be unified. In the church, we are to be unified. But the unity that the Bible teaches is not a unity that's called unanimity or uniformity. We don't look the same. We don't always think the same. There are differences of opinion. When you say, I respect you, what you are telling that person is we don't have to agree to value each other. We don't have to see this perfectly the same to affirm each other. It's okay that we disagree. I respect you means that we can disagree, but you haven't been diminished in your proximity to me. I respect you is not a phrase that's said that often. But as the world becomes more and more divisive, and sometimes those ideas bleed themselves into the church, it is important that we as leaders share that life-giving word that creates safe unity. Here's another word that I think is so life-giving and so important to say, and that is, I love you. Most Christians know that they are loved by their leaders, but words sometimes validate the experience. And in some cultures, that's an unusual word to say. In every culture, some life-giving words are normal and other life-giving words are very unusual. But the church is called at times to be countercultural, to behave and practice in a way that culture looks and says, that's unusual, that's different. And for some cultures, leaders saying, I love you is very countercultural. Don't let that stop you from giving the life-giving word, but realize that the church has a prophetic role to bring truth that is different than the culture. And that life-giving word validates people. Everybody wants to hear that they are loved. Here's another life-giving word, and that is, I forgive you. This becomes very important. Let me caution you not to use this phrase in a manipulative way, because somebody may have hurt you, and it's almost like you can get them back by saying, oh yeah, I forgive you. And you're actually manipulating the situation. The timing of when you say, I forgive you, is very important so that they can be redeemed and brought back. But it is important for people to hear that you don't hold a grudge, that they are forgiven. Otherwise, the enemy can work on them when they say something wrong or do something wrong. The enemy can accuse them and deceive them of their standing. But when you say, I forgive you, then they are released from that and they are free and they are protected. And here's a final life-giving word that may sound very unusual for you, especially as a young leader. And it's the phrase, I am proud of you. I am proud of you. I have visited more than 100 countries, and I have worked with young leaders all around this world. And in every culture I've been to, young leaders saying this phrase is strange. That's usually a phrase said by older leaders to younger people. But as a young leader, you have people in your influence, and everybody needs to hear and wants to hear, I am proud of you, and their hearts soar because you have given them a life-giving word. Let me end this session with a verse actually out of Psalms, not out of Proverbs. Psalms 19:14 says this, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight. God has given us the gift of communication as leaders to resolve conflict through our words. And we bring glory to God when we listen to connect with their heart, when we speak the truth gently, with grace, and when we give life-giving words that lift people up and draw them closer to God and to us as leaders. May you use Proverbs pattern in your ways of communicating that will resolve conflicts and bring unity and harmony and fruitfulness to your ministry.